I made a video on the game Jolly, and while I still have yet to cover the other games in the series, I thought I'd have a look into another popular fan game that I missed out on, which is Five Nights at Candy's. Yeah, somehow I haven't played this game either. FNAC, as I'll be calling it from now on, was created by Emil Mako, and released in 2015. Now I've had my eyes on this game for a while, except now that I think about it, if I were to just make a video of me covering the first game, it'd be pretty outdated seeing as there is a remaster of the game available. But I still want to play the first game to see what it's like, and I need content. Luckily, a lovely fellow on my Discord server, link is in the description by the way, recommended the idea that I play both the original and the remaster and compare the two together, which I think makes for a better video than what I originally planned. So that's what I'll do instead. Today, I'm gonna go over FNAC 1 and its remaster to see how the game has improved since. I hope you're all ready, because without further ado, now this is supposed to be a comparison on the first game and its remaster, but I still want to do a small little review segment on how the game actually is, just so people who don't know can know. Also, that's kind of the content I make on this channel, so it only seems right. If you don't care about the review and you just want to see my comparison, then you can skip to this timestamp. If you're still here, however, let's get into FNAC 1. Like most fan games that had more than one game in the series, you don't really get much story from the first game. So far what I've gathered is that Freddy Fazbear's shut down, so now Candy's Burger and Fries is next in line in the entertainment chain. But of course, something has gone wrong with the robots and they want to kill you. Apparently there was some accident which scarred the systems of the animatronics, and that's why they're after you. And that's about it. There are some really cool cutscenes in the middle of each night which take place from a security camera's POV, and they're pretty cool, except, you know, I don't exactly know what they add to the story besides this puppet character that he did something, I don't know. Anyway, gameplay, yay! Okay, let's start with the animatronics. The first two being Candy and Cindy. These two play like your normal FNAF Bonnie and Chica. They start on the stage and they make their way down to your office. Candy and Cindy can enter through both left and right door, but for the first couple of nights they kind of favoritize the right door. The thing is, there aren't any lights on the doors though, so how exactly are you gonna tell if one of the animatronics are there? Well, if you go into the cameras and look at the camera next to your office, you can see them staring at your door, which in my opinion is a really cool design choice, and it really caught me off guard the first time I saw it. But then you have the other way where you can just look at their eyes glowing through the door. So the cool camera thing is just kind of a waste here. Anyway, you get the idea. You see the eyes or see them on the camera, you close the door. Pretty simple. Next, we have Chester, who works the exact same way as the other two. He just starts at a different room and can go through the left door. Next, we have Blank and the Penguin. In my opinion, the best characters in the game. Blank is on the other side of the building and breaks into your office through the window in front of you. You need to check on his camera to make sure he's in place, and if he's gone, you need to close the window door in front of you. The Penguin, I don't really know what the Penguin does because he never got into my room. Apparently he's supposed to call over Candy if he gets in, and he'll stay there for the rest of the night. You can't get rid of him. To be honest, I just like him because he's a penguin, and penguins are my favorite animal. Then there's Old Candy, who shows up at the left door. Old Candy's gimmick is that the eyes don't glow up, meaning you can't actually see them when they're at the door. You need to use the camera to figure out if they're at the door or not, which is personally something I wish that all the characters did, because it seems like a really cool feature, but that's just me. Lastly, we have Finnegan the Rat. That's not actually his name, but that's what Cerberus called him when I played it. So, Finnegan works the same as Old Candy, but moves a lot faster and shows up at both doors. And that's everyone in the game. Now, I haven't talked about Power yet, because Power I moved into a different section of the script, which is where I talk about. Now with Candy's, I don't actually have many problems with it. The main problem I can see is the power. Reason being because it is super forgiving in this game. Power goes down slower than the time it takes for me to make a video. There's also a door charge thing, which is meant to drain the power faster if they get full, but you shouldn't be getting them full anyways because it takes like 2 seconds for an animatronic to leave your door once you've closed it on them. Another thing is that on the later night, being around night 6 and Custom Night, the only cameras you really need to look at are the 2 side doors and Blank's room. This was a strat that a friend taught me when I was playing the game on call, so shout out to Wah for showing me how to beat Night 6 and Custom Night properly. But yeah, back to the point. You have all these cameras on the map and only need to worry about these 3. It's not the biggest problem ever, but it definitely makes all the other cameras useless, and I don't know, it just doesn't really make any sense to me. On the Jaden scale, I'm gonna have to give this game a 7 out of 10. This game is pretty much just a reskin of FNAF 1, except with its own little charm, and the charm it adds is very welcome. Being able to see the animatronics stare at you on the cameras is a really nice touch. The cutscenes in between each nights are made pretty well, even if I don't really know what they mean to the story. The download link to this game and the remaster will be in the description, so you should definitely try it out if you want. For an old game, it holds up really well. I'd say even better than Jolly. Okay, and now that I've gotten that, hopefully, short section out of the way, let's move into the actual topic of the video. What did the remaster do differently? And did it do it better? First, seeing as this is probably the biggest difference between the two games, we'll be talking about the visual differences, starting with FNAF 1. Now, I know that this game is old, like 2015 old, so I can't shoot on it too much, but the main thing visual-wise that really caught me off guard was the really disturbing warp effect that happens when you look around in the office. I know that games like this aren't really supposed to be made on Click Team, so it's gonna look weird. I mean, this happened in even official FNAF, but out of all the FNAF fan games, and even FNAF itself, this game got affected by the warp effect the hardest, and something like this really takes you out of the game. And then on top of the office stretching and squashing, the weird wavy effect that happens on the sides of the screen, which I think is actually caused by the warping. Onto how the models in the game look, I think the only one I didn't really like was Chester. This is not racially motivated. I don't know, I just think he looked a little goofy compared to everyone else. Besides that though, the models in Candy look really good, especially the rat. The camera shots look alright too, but they feel a bit small for me. And the jump scare animations, they aren't bad. Blank has the best jump scare in my opinion, probably because he has the most smooth animation of them all, while the others bounce into the screen. The sound that plays as well also isn't really the scariest thing in the world. I think the only jump scare that scared me was the rat jump scare, which I believe is only because he had the best model. Now for the remaster, yeah, obviously the remaster's gonna take this one, but it's honestly not by much. Don't get me wrong, the remaster does look a whole lot better than the original game. Like for example, the warping effect, while not fully gone, is very greatly reduced, which makes you feel like the character is actually in an office and not a 2D PNG of an office that wraps around his face. Another thing is that the models have been improved, the environment looks really good, except for some certain cameras that still suffer from that feeling of them being too small. Besides that though, there are some things that I don't exactly like. Firstly, moving around in the office felt really weird to me at first. The camera felt really odd to use as it would stick to where your mouse is instead of moving the whole way, if that makes sense. I then realized that this was because of a setting that is forced at launch, which is called hyper scrolling. Turning it off reverts back to the nice camera feel. I don't really like that this setting is forced, but it's not that big of a deal seeing as you can fix it. Another thing is the office is a lot brighter in the remaster. Compare these two rooms together and tell me which one you prefer. The correct answer is eerie lighting. The cameras look fine, but Cam 01 looks odd for some reason. The jump scares, however, are probably my favorite improvement that the remaster did. The animations actually bring life to the characters, and they look a whole lot better than they did in the OG game. Especially Blank, because I really liked his jump scare originally, and the remaster just made it 10 times better. The next big difference, content. Now FNAF 1 didn't exactly have the most content in any FNAF game ever. After the 5th night, the only extra content you really get is a 6th night which includes Finnegan, a custom night, and extra menu. These are all pretty cool things to have, which the remaster has as well. But the remaster has one extra game mode you can play. If you go into the extras menu and you scroll all the way to the rat and zoom in on his face for a little bit, this little event happens. Then you get these numbers here that can be put into the custom night in this order, which unlocks a secret night called that thing night. It's a pretty cool night. It's a pain to try and figure out what you actually need to do, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy, but also pretty cool. And you also get a little teaser for FNAF 4. You also unlock access to Camera 13, which doesn't really add much to the game except now that you can see Finnegan and apparently all his stages and stuff, but during these later night, the only cameras you're going to be worrying about are these three, so I don't exactly think looking at his stages matters. I'm not going to jump too much into this extra game because I feel like it's definitely something you should try for yourself. It's also an Easter egg, and you know, secrets are best kept secrets. But that's pretty much the only new thing that the game added. I mean, I shouldn't really expect much more content out of a game that was just meant to be a remake. The only other extra content that I can think about are just minor changes to the game, like your night vision being able to stay on when you close the cameras opposed to having to turn them on every time. So, final thoughts. What's different? What's better? What's worse? Visually, the remaster is definitely better, besides some places like The Office of course. Gameplay wise, it's the same game. There isn't really much for me to say there, besides the secret night, which is pretty cool, but that's about it. There's also some nice little touches like the night vision staying on when the camera is closed, so that's pretty cool. All in all, I don't think there is a definitive version that I would recommend. Obviously, the remaster is going to be better looking and more up to standards, but if you only care about the gameplay, then play whichever one you want. Play the remaster if you want a refurbished experience. Play the original if you want a classic experience. That's pretty much it. I'll be honest, I had no clue on the direction this video was gonna go, as it's a lot different from the normal content that I make, besides the review part of course. If you happen to enjoy it though, then a like and sub would be greatly appreciated. I've got some absolute bangers cooking up, and yet another Slendytubbies possibly for the second channel. I can't escape Slendytubbies, so stay tuned for that. Some videos I plan to do on this channel won't be FNAF related, because as much as I like fan games, I do indeed play other games, and I feel like some games need some coverage, which I'd be more than happy to do. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you have or have had a good morning, evening, or night, whatever one it is for you, and I'll see you in the next one.